The first time, Leo stepped onto the crystalline docks of the Virene kingdom. He understood that this part of the galaxy ran on rules far older and stricter than anything humans had created. The docks glowed as though a moon had been sliced into panels beneath his feet. Towers reached upward in perfect curves of silver stone. The sky shimmered with the faint pulse of the nebula around the planet. The Virene were a tall, elegant species with skin like fine stone and eyes bright as lanterns. Leo had arrived as part of a diplomatic escort, a humble engineer whose job was to help maintain the small human frigate while diplomats spoke to the royal court. Nothing about his role suggested that he would soon become the central figure in the survival of a dynasty. Leo had always been an ordinary man by his own measure. He came from a quiet colony where ships were built by hand, and his talent lay in coaxing life out of old engines. He had no noble blood, no genetic upgrades, no political influence. Yet he possessed something the Virene valued, even if they did not yet realize it. He had stubborn bravery, the kind that pushed him forward when he should have stepped back, and the kind that kept him calm when others panicked. That stubbornness would become the shield for a royal family he had never expected to meet. On the evening of the arrival ceremony, the grand hall filled with foreign envoys and Virene nobles dressed in flowing metalweave. Leo stood with the other crew members near a row of towering crystal pillars that hung softly. At the far end of the chamber, the queen entered with her children and her sworn guardians. Her presence quieted the crowd. She was tall even by Virene standards, with pale silver skin and dark hair that fell like a curtain of night. Her voice resonated without force as she welcomed each delegation. Leo watched from afar with distant curiosity. She was a ruler of legends, a sovereign said to maintain balance across her star sector. Her children were two young heirs who clung close to her side. The ceremony unfolded with formal speeches and ritual offerings. Leo had no part to play beyond observation. Yet as the event neared its end, the lights flickered in a way that did not feel like a mere malfunction. Leo felt a faint tremor through the floor. He knew ships and power systems well enough to recognize the signature of external interference. Before he could warn anyone, a blast shattered the windows high above. Shards of crystal rained down. Dark figures plunged into the hall with equipment built for speed rather than stealth. They moved with practiced precision toward the queen and her children. Panic surged through the crowd. Virene guards rushed forward, but the attackers had prepared too well. Energy nets sprang across the ballroom, pinning several guards in place. Smoke filled the air. Leo dropped instinctively, but he could see through the haze that the attackers were not trying to massacre the hall. They had a single goal. They wanted the royal heirs. Leo saw one of the attackers leap toward the young prince. The guard nearest the child had been trapped under a net. The prince stumbled back. Without thinking, Leo sprinted forward. He had no weapon, no armor. He only had the instinct to protect. He crashed into the attacker with full force. The impact knocked both to the ground. Leo rolled, grabbed the disruptor device from the assailant's belt, and smashed its primary coil against the floor. It sparked uselessly. More attackers noticed him. He felt a flash of fear, but kept moving. He shielded the prince with his body and shouted for the other heirs to stay low. The queen saw him and raised a hand. A surge of shimmering force flung two attackers away from her. The guardians pushed forward to cover the family again. Leo grabbed the prince by the arm. He urged him toward a side corridor. The prince hesitated, torn between fear and duty. Leo pulled him gently and pointed to the exit. The child finally obeyed and ran. Leo followed, making sure the attackers did not pursue. One did. Leo braced himself and blocked the corridor entrance with a fallen pillar segment. It bought him a precious moment. The child escaped deeper into the palace, where guards were regrouping. By the time reinforcements swept through the hall, the attackers had vanished through a breach they had prepared. But they had failed to take the children. News spread quickly across the palace that a human engineer had helped secure the heirs during the chaos. Leo tried to downplay his involvement as he checked the bruises on his arms. Yet word reached the queen before he had a chance to step behind the crowd. She approached him with calm control, though Leo saw the lingering worry in her eyes. The two heirs behind her watched him with a mixture of awe and curiosity. The queen placed a hand over her heart, a gesture of honor among her people. She thanked him. Her voice carried the weight of genuine gratitude. Leo bowed awkwardly, uncertain of the correct custom. The court whispered among themselves. A human had intervened where many had frozen. The next day, palace investigators uncovered that the attackers belonged to a rival faction that sought to break the stability of the Varin kingdom. Their attempt had failed, but the threat remained. The queen refused to move her children off-world. She believed that retreat would signal weakness. Instead, she strengthened security and demanded full transparency regarding the safety protocols. Among those protocols was the recommendation that anyone who had shown courage and quick thinking be brought closer to the palace for future emergencies. That included Leo. Leo had not expected that. He had come to repair engines, not protect royalty. Yet a summons arrived requesting that he present himself for a formal audience. Rumors swirled that the queen wished to personally address his actions. Leo tried to prepare himself, adjusting the collar of his uniform as he entered the throne chamber. The queen sat upon a seat crafted from a single arc of silver crystal. When Leo approached, she regarded him not as a subject, but as someone she had chosen to acknowledge. She rose and walked toward him. The hall fell silent. She announced to all present that Leo had saved her bloodline when the palace itself had faltered. She declared that his bravery was proof of the strength humans carried. Then she said something that rippled across the chamber like a shockwave. She proclaimed that the human was now under the protection of the crown. She ended with a phrase that startled both her court and Leo. She said, with clear authority, that the human was theirs now. Leo stood frozen. He did not understand the full implications until the queen explained that such a declaration meant he was now honored as a guardian of the family. It was not a command, but a recognition. He could refuse. Yet the queen hoped he would not. He accepted with quiet humility, overwhelmed but resolute. From that day forward, Leo served within the palace. He was not a traditional guard. Instead, he became a versatile presence. He assisted in engineering tasks to reinforce palace defenses. He trained with the guardians to understand emergency drills. He spent time with the young heirs, who quickly grew fond of him. The prince he had rescued often followed him around, asking questions about human machines. The princess enjoyed challenging him with logic puzzles from Varin culture. Leo learned more about the Varin than any diplomat in his mission. As days turned into weeks, he discovered that the palace still faced hidden threats. The faction responsible for the attack had not vanished. They sent coded messages and attempted to recruit sympathizers. Leo's background as an engineer helped him detect tampering in the palace energy grid that others had overlooked. He prevented an overload that might have disabled security fields. The queen thanked him again, though he insisted he was only doing his duty. One evening, as the nebula light dimmed into a soft violet glow around the palace, Leo stood upon a balcony. The queen joined him quietly. She asked if he regretted accepting his role. Leo answered honestly. He said he had not expected any of this, but he had no regrets. He valued the trust she placed in him. The queen nodded. She spoke of the burden of leadership and the difficulty of trusting outsiders. Yet Leo had proven that trust could come from unexpected places. She told him that her declaration had not been made lightly. To claim someone as under the crown was a vow that bound both protector and protected. She assured him that he would never stand alone. In the following months, the faction launched one final desperate strike. They sent assassins into the lower tunnels beneath the palace. Leo discovered their presence while repairing conduit systems. He alerted the guards and managed to hold a barricade long enough for reinforcements to arrive. His hands trembled afterward, but he remained steady until the threat was neutralized. The queen visited him in the infirmary later, commending his courage once more. Leo simply smiled and said he had only done what anyone should do. The queen disagreed. She said that most would have run. He had stood firm. The stability of the kingdom gradually returned. The faction collapsed under its failed pursuits. The palace resumed its normal rhythm. Yet Leo remained a constant presence. He became a trusted figure, even beyond the royal family. Varine engineers admired his skill. Palace staff valued his kindness. The heirs saw him as both protector and friend. The queen regarded him with respect that crossed cultural boundaries. One night, during a private gathering with close advisors, the queen spoke of the resilience of her people and the unexpected strength found in allies. She referenced Leo openly. She said that the galaxy often underestimated humans. They saw them as newcomers among old civilizations. The